Welcome back everyone. So today I'm going to be showing you how to implement this draggable functionality on lists. As you can see, the first thing is we have John Doe on the first list, and the second we have Jane Smith and Alice Johnson and the third, right? So if I change the position John Doe to the very bottom, as you can see on the console, I just console log the state by the way. So John Doe now is becoming the third, right? I also can change this Alice Johnson very top, and now as you can see, Alice Johnson is gonna be on the very top. All right, so we are gonna implement that. Use these hooks here. Use sortable hooks from DND Kit. So it's gonna be really fun. Let's get started. So what we need to do first is I'm going to generate a rec application. I'm gonna use fit. So let's see how we can generate a application. So we can do something like this. So we can just copy that, paste that into your terminal, and I'm gonna use template, this one, React-DS. Let's copy that and paste that right here. And also for the application name, I'm gonna use, and I'm gonna say, let's say DND tutorial. All right, hit enter. Great. So now we can say cd to DND tutorial, and from here we can say npm install to install all the dependency. All right, it's done. Let's open that inside Visual Studio Code. Just for styling, I want to install Tailwind CSS on our Fit application. So you don't have to follow this installation, but I just want to make it a little bit look nicer. So let's open the terminal, and I'm gonna paste that right here. It's going to be install the Tailwind CSS, all of these packages right here, and it will generate the Tailwind config.js. So let's just wait for that. Here we go. We have this Tailwind config, and I'm going to paste this content right here. And also inside the index.css, I'm going to paste this right here, just like that. And also we're done. So we can say npm run dev on the terminal, and let's remove this app CSS. We don't need that. Let's delete, and also go to app.tsx, and I'm going to remove all of this. Let's get rid of that, and I just want to paste this example in here. Copy that, paste that right here. The state I'm gonna remove, and also every import up here. Let's save. Let's take a look. I'm going to open localhost 5173, and that's what we have. Nice. So the first thing is I'm going to showing you how to create the cart list, and then after that we are going to install all these packages right here, DND Kit. But first let's create the cart list. All right, so inside the source, I'm going to create components. Inside the component folder, I'm going to create the user list.tsx, and in here let's say rifce. Let's remove this. Let's say user list, like that. And we are going to create another file in here called user item for individual item. rifce, and let's say user item, just like that. So now let's go back to app.tsx, and in here I'm going to return the user list, just like that. And now we can see this user list. Great. So inside the user list, I'm going to create state in here. So let's do state, and for the state name, I'm going to say user data, just like so. And we need to import the use state. And of course, we are going to set this type, right? So the type is basically, we can put in here. I want to say cons. No, not cons, but we can say type. And the type name, I'm going to say user, set equals to object. And in here, I'm going to say ID. My data is basically have an ID. The ID is basically a number, and we have name is basically string, and also we have email is also basically string. So now we can put it in here. So we can say this user data should be have type user, like so, and this user of an array, right? So let's create the default user data. So I'm going to create the dummy data in here. So I'm going to say cons dummy data. In the real world, it should come from the API, but for now, let's just create the dummy data in here. We can say this dummy data, it should have a type called user inside an array. So let's set equals to array, And in here, basically, I just want to copy and paste, come from the final code right here. All right, we have ID, name, and email. We are going to put this dummy data as a default user data state. So we can put it in here, just like so. Nice. So in here, we are going to return the user data, right? We need to map through the user data inside this return. But first, I'm going to wrap that inside the div, so I can say maximal width to XL for styling. And also I'm going to set the MX to auto to make it in center. I'm going to set it to display grid, and also the gap between the item inside the grid, it's basically 2. And also I'm going to set the margin vertically into 10 and hit enter. Here we go. So now here, if I have, for example, heading 1, we can say hello a couple times in here. I'm going to save, and as you can see, now this is the grid with gap 2 right here, right? This works. So in here, I'm going to say heading 2 with the class name call. I'm going to say text to XL, and also the font, I'm going to do bold. Also for the margin bottom, I'm going to say 4, just like that. And just say user list in here. And finally, we are going to map through the user data. So we can say user data.map. Let's grab for individual user. And in here, I'm going to return the user item. So we can say user item, just like that. And we need to send the user set equals to user. And also we always need to send key every time we map through the array, right? So we can say key set equals to user dot ID, because ID is unique. Great. So now when I save that, nothing happened basically, right? Because user now is not get inside this user item. So of course we need to grab the props in here. So we can say props, and we can say cons. We grab the user inside the props. But now this user don't have the type right here. We can just export this and use it right here, or the better way is to create another file called types.ts, and we are going to copy this or cut that out, and we are going to export this type so we can use it inside the user list and also inside the user item. So in here, I can grab the user like so, and the user have a type user come from this types file. All right, so in here, instead of props, we can say user, and inside the user, we have an ID. Wait, it's not works. Oh, my bad. It should be still props in here, and we are going to grab the user like so. And down here, we can grab we can destructuring the ID, name, and email from the user, right? So in here, we can say ID, name, and also email come from the user. To make it more easy to read, basically you can say types call user item props in here, that equals to object, and you can say this one, you can cut this user right here to make it easy to read. Basically you can remove this and you can say user item props like so. If you have another props, you can say in here, you can say, for example, ID or key, whatever, right? It's more easy to read. Cool. So the next thing is I'm going to cut that out, and in here I'm going to add class name. So let's do class name set equals to the background. I'm going to say blue. Let's do 200, and also the padding, I'm going to say 4. I'm going to do rounded. Also the shadow, I'm going to do, let's say shadow is going to be medium. I'm going to say display flex and justify between. So basically inside this div here, we have, for example, it's going to be on the left, and this is gonna be on the right, okay? Because we put that display flex and justify between, the left, it should be on the left, and right, it should be on the right. All right, cool. Nice. So this live here, I'm gonna do div, and inside this div, I have heading 3 with class name text large, also the font semi bold, like that. And I'm gonna put the name just like that. And also here I have p tag with class name text gray, and I can say 600. And also for the content here, it should become from the email. Nice. So now save, and as you can see, we have the John Doe, Jane Smith, and Alice Johnson. So basically we don't need to use this ID in here. So let's remove that. All right, so now it works. But as you can see, we cannot move this card here because we don't implement the DND Kit. So now let's go to dndkit.com and go to documentation, and we need to install the first package. Go to installation, and then this one. We need to install this dndkit/core. So let's copy that, go to terminal, and paste it right here, hit enter. All right, so because we need to working with the sortable, we need to click this preset right here, click the sortable context, and see what we need to do in here, right? We need to wrap our item list inside the DND context, basically. So let's go back. We need to say npm run dev in here, and we need to go back to user list, and in here we need to wrap this inside the DND context. So here I'm gonna say DND context come from the DND kit/core, and we are gonna put all this user data inside the DND context, like so. And also we need to use this sortable context. This is gonna come from the DND Kit sortable, so we need to install the package first. So let's copy this, copy the package name right here, and we are going to install that. npm install DND Kit sortable, hit enter, and it's done. Great. So now let's wrap that inside the sortable context. Let's do it here. Here we go. We need to put the user data inside the sortable context. Great. Sortable context need to have item props. So we can say item set equals to user data. Just like that. Great. So now, because we already wrapping our user item inside the sortable context here, now we can access the hooks, this use sortable hooks. So how do we use that? Pretty simple. So first we need to import this, everything in here, attribute, listener, set node. What the hell is this basically? So this is the DND Kit use for kind of like know where's the component that we need to set as a list here, right? So as you can see in the documentation, they put the attribute and listener inside the li. So let's just first copy this and paste that to the user item, like that. So we need to say user sortable should be import come from the DND Kit sortable, and also here we need to put the ID. So we need to grab the ID and put that right here because we have same name. We need to just say ID like that. All right, so now we need to put the ref and all this attribute and listener inside this div. So now here I'm going to say ref set equals to, it's going to be set node ref, and then I'm going to put the attribute, all the attributes and all the listener like that. It should be 3 dots here. As you can see, this div here now is becoming like, as you can see, we have pointer event in here. If I click and drag it, nothing happened, but I'm going to say inspect here and go to console. I'm going to showing you something in here inside the DND context. Basically inside in here we have some function. So first I'm showing you we have on drag star, It's basically when we click here and start dragging, it will fire this function. So here I just want to kind of like console log. Let's say console log, and I drag this. As you can see, if I click drag, it's fire this function. And also we have on drag over, not over, I think on drag end. What this is do is basically when I drag, for example, this John Doe, and I drop it right here, it will fire this function here. So when I drag and the element here, I want to run this function. So let's create the function. So the function, it should be handle drag n, right? So let's create the function here. I'm going to do up here. So you can say const on drag n set equals to arrow function. All right, so in here, what we are going to do, so basically we can grab event inside this function. So we can say event, and this event have a function, not function, have a type called drag and event. It's come from DND Kit event. We can grab something from the event, right? So we can grab the active, which is the ID that active, and over. That means where I going to put the element here. I'm going to console log, right? I'm going to console log the active and over. Hope this will make you understand what's going on. So let's refresh, and I'm going to click this index 1, right? And I'm going to put really down here. And as you can see, the active is going to be ID 1, right? And the over is going to be ID 3 because we drag this ID 1 to very bottom, right? And now let's refresh that again. And I'm going to put this ID 1 in the center, okay? So now we know the active is going to be 1 and over is going to be 2, okay? It's really easy to understand, right? If this is still hard to imagine how this works, so I think now we need to implement the style, because when we use style, it's really more easy to understand basically. So we need to import this const style variable, and we need to put that inside this user item like so. And of course, we need to install these utilities. So first I'm going to copy and paste that right here. And then now we need to copy the name, and we can say npm install DND Kit utilities. Okay, it's done. So now we can say npm run dev, and we can put this style inside this div. So we can say style. This is for inline style, and we can put the style right here. So now let's go back to the browser and see what we have. When I click this and drag it right here, as you can see, if I put that, and as you can see, ID 1 is gonna over ID 3, all right? If I click this ID 2, it's gonna be up here. Wait, I'm gonna refresh that first, and I'm gonna click this ID 1, and I'm gonna put that right here. For now, it's not works, but on the console we see active 1 and over 2, right? It's more easy to imagine, right? Cool. So now let's go back to user list, and what we need to do in here is we need to add condition. So first I'm going to say if, let's do if over have a value. That's mean if we change something in here, if we not change, of course, don't run that, right? So if over have a value and active.id, right, which is right here, active.id is not equals to over.id. That means when we click this, drag it, and just put still on the same position, don't run this if statement right here. Okay, great. So in here we can say set user data, which is this function state in here. We grab the items, right? And in here, what I'm going to do is first I'm going to say const alt index. Let's do alt index set equals to I'm going to say items. Item is basically value inside this user data. It's basically for individual object in here. So you can say items dot find index. All right, and we grab the item like that, and in here what I'm going to do, let's say item.id. okay, it's equals to active.id. So basically we grab the first index, which is the old index right here. So we need to copy and paste, and this is basically new index. So let's say new index. We can say item find index item.id is equals to over.id. Okay, nice. So down here we can say return. Let's say return, and we're going to use array move come from DND Kit sortable like that. And in here we need to put the item. Or basically this should be inside the set user data. All right, the first thing is we need to put the items in here, and then we need to put the alt index and new index. Just like that, and save. All right, so down here outside the function, I just want to console log the user data so you can see the difference. All right, so now let's save and let's take a look. If I click the John Doe right here, and I'm going to move it to the second position, as you can see, now John Doe will be coming the second position, right? Works. If I put the John Doe on the very bottom, now John Doe it's very bottom. Great, it's working, right? But as you can see, when I click and drag it to the left and right, it still works. I cannot drag left and right here. I need to just be able to drag up and down, not left and right. So how do we do that? Pretty simple. Basically, we need to install another package called npm install DND Kit modifier. So this package have a function called restrict to vertical axis. So let me showing you here. So inside the DND context here, I'm going to say modifier set it equals to restrict. And as you can see, there's a lot of restrict in here, but I'm going to use this to vertical axis, right? Let's save, and we have some warning. It's not sendable to type modifier. I think I'm doing something wrong in here. Oh yeah, that is because we need to put this inside an array like so. Let's save and let's take a look. Now I cannot drag left and right. We just can drag up and down. Okay, it works. Great. And the next thing is I'm going to add drag button on the right here. So let's go back to user item, and what we need to do in here is I'm gonna create button. Let's do button, and this button have a text drag. All right, so now of course it not works, and we need to add the attribute and listener in here. So we need to just copy this, cut that out, and paste it right here. And also in here I'm going to add class name call. Let's do cursor move. This is basically a class from the Tailwind. So now if I click the div here, as you can see, I cannot drag it, but in this button, it works, right? All right, so I think that's it guys for this video. In the real world application, maybe you have button save in here, and when you save, you make a post request on the API, right? So yeah, I hope you learned something new from this video. Thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next one.